With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. So excited today. I've got actor, filmmaker Curtis Lum with me. So welcome, Curtis.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, I've been a fan of yours for a while. You do a lot of geeky stuff. You're in a lot of the nerdy shows.
Is it? Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. I loved you on Titans. You were Benny on Titans, but you've been on like Supergirl and Arrow.
Yes.
Continuum. I remember you on that one. Supernatural, Almost Human. I could keep going.
Yeah. You know what? That's a product of, growing up in Vancouver. That's a lot of the type of shows that we shoot up there, a lot of sci-fi stuff. And I think over the last decade, I definitely, have kind of found my place in the world and have become, a little bit of a geek myself, and I've and allowed myself to geek out on all of the things that I.
It's okay to be nerdy now. When I was growing up, you didn't run tell people you were nerdy. Right. But now it's kind of cool.
Oh, the whole game's changed now, and you're not cool unless you're a geek now.
That's right.
There was Return of the Geeks before. Now is just like, get out of the way if you're not.
Get out of the way. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Now it's if you're not a little bit nerdy or geeky, then you're the odd one out.
Yeah, you're almost not living hard enough unless you found something to geek out on. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh shoot. Well, let's start this way, Curtis.
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about what got you into acting. What made you want to become an actor?
Over the years, I think my answer to that has changed, because before I always thought that I was destined to be this businessman extraordinaire. I had such high aspirations for doing all things business, be it like opening a nightclub or like having a clothing line and this and that. But the truth is, I've always been I've always had the DNA of being an entertainer, and that was passed down from my parents and even my grandparents and stuff like that. And I've always been sort of like one to want to host and entertain people from a very early age. And I just never really realized that until later on in my life. But I'll always credit it to this. I remember being like 9 or 10 years old, and I was walking back to my dad's office with him through this alley, and I saw the whole alley like being lit up. Yeah. And it was my first time seeing a film set. And so to give context, my dad had a little office building. I grew up in the restaurant business, and to get into that office building, we had to go through this alley, or it was a shortcut. So we were cutting through that way anyways. And I'll never forget, I cheekishly tried to steal a donut from craft services. And then a PA caught me and was like, "Hey," and I remember just freezing, deer in headlights sort of thing. And and then he went, there's more over there if you want. They're all free. And I'm like, "What do you mean free?" They're like, "Yeah, all this is free." And I was like, "You guys get free food?" I was like, I just remember thinking, wow, like this is a world I got to be a part of. But then to see, and then I got to kind of kick back and watch them work for a little bit. I didn't see Jet Li, but the film was Romeo Must Die.
That's a great film.
Great film, and it had a massive influence on me, since I was a little kid. And I just remember seeing sort of not only the bright lights of it all, but to see three things. People performing was really cool. Seeing people in costume and in character, but then to see Asians on film. actual Asian actors from wherever they were from, be it Hollywood or Asia or whether
A little rarer back at that time.
I mean, it's still relatively
It
rare as
is.
hell. You know what I mean? So
It
this
is.
is back in early 2000s. And I remember seeing Russell Wong, who was, you know, a big North American and Asian actor at the time. And the scene was like they were in this back of this truck, and they pull up the sliding door, and there's like two guys hung up with like suckling pigs and stuff like that. And I just remember it was just an image that like that was imprinted on me that just had such a lasting effect. Like I said, seeing, you know, on the monitors and stuff like that, these Asian actors being shot, and then in my own hometown, it was just the trifecta of those three elements just really struck a chord with me. And like I said, I didn't really tap into it later on in my life. I think I started acting when I was 20 or 21.
Oh yeah, that's relatively late.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I just remember that feeling that I had on set, and feeling this like electricity run through me, and thinking, this is a world that I want to be a part of. And you know, ever since I've started, you know, it's been a 15-year journey so far of me kind of going on this roller coaster, but then discovering all of these wonderful things that I love about this business and about this sort of this world, so to speak, and realizing that it all stemmed from that moment, and how a lot of the things that to the, you know,
that's awesome,
to this day still make me go wow are the very same things that made me go wow the first time I ever, you know, touched foot on a set. So
I mean, that's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah,
because it obviously stuck with you.
Yeah,
because it happened at a young age, but most kids wouldn't stick with it. You know, at some point that you normally get derailed in whatever you're trying to do, but you kind of figured it out early and stuck with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I knew I wanted to get into this world. As far as performing, like I said, I've always had an act for entertaining people. Like, you know, I was growing up, I was always the class clown. I was always the one that was like, you know, like I went to school. Most kids went to school to learn and to be educated. I went to school just so that I could be there for lunchtime and recess, where we could pretend to be our favorite wrestlers and have these lunchtime, you know,
I love that
battles.
Who was your favorite wrestler?
That's a toss up, man. I was a big Shawn Michaels fan, and The Rock.
You know, my son who does this podcast with me, that was his favorite, was Shawn Michaels. We used to go and see him when, you know, he kind of got out of it when he got to be a teenager, but when he was young, he was big into it. But that's who he liked, Shawn Michaels.
How about yourself? Who's your favorite wrestler?
You know, I was always kind of like growing up. It was probably Ricky Steamboat, somebody like that, you know. But once I started rewatching with my son, I liked Randy Orton. He was always the bad guy, but I always liked him.
No, he's great. Randy's great. You know, I loved his poses and stuff like that.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, Shawn Michaels was it for me, man. Like, as far as all of his pizzazz that he had in spades, him and The Rock, you know.
Did you have a hat? Did you buy a hat that matched his?
Shawn Michaels?
Yeah.
Funny you say that, actually. I'm getting ready for a red carpet this week, and I don't have the hat, but I bought my first pair of cowboy boots.
Oh, very nice.
Probably influenced by him, to be honest with you. I don't have the buttless chaps yet, but the boots.
It's coming.
You know, just so I could light it up on the carpet. But yeah, it's, you know, two very electrifying entertainers that give it their all, and I think that really resonated with me, and that's exactly the kind of performer that I've become. Just someone that likes to leave everything on the floor, give it my all, and try to light people up along the way, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's terrific. That's a fun way to kind of get yourself into that mode, because you can't beat watching wrestlers, because the one thing they do is they act. You know, I mean, they really put it out there, and
Exactly.
And it's, even though it's not, it's scripted, it's still so physical.
Oh yeah.
That's not an easy, I don't know if you call that a sport, but I'd kind of call it a sport, even though it's scripted, just because of the athleticism they got to have.
And it's acting on the purest level, really, because they're doing essentially theater with hardcore physicality day in, day out, right? Whether it's Monday, Thursday, Friday, whatever, Sunday. But they're playing up their characters for however long their matches are, right? And then before and after with the interviews and stuff. So they definitely don't get enough credit for the performer / actor aspect of what they do.
Well, and you've seen, you've had some pretty big actors have come out of wrestling.
Sure.
The Rock and John Cena and
yeah.
The Miz has done some stuff.
Yeah. I've worked with Edge before as well. Adam Copeland.
That's another one my son likes is Edge.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, when you were growing up, were you athletic? Did you play sports?
I played basketball. Actually, I played a lot of sports, but basketball was my main sport.
Yeah.
And I loved wrestling. So those two things. But I was kind of like, I was like good enough at many sports, but I wasn't great at any.
Yeah, I know exactly that feeling. I didn't embarrass myself whatever I tried, but I really wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
I was good enough to make the team, but then I had trouble getting off the bench.
Yeah, I was like a one-trick pony with every sport. Like even in basketball, like I'd be the first guy to score the first maybe 6 points, and then the other team would figure out all my moves, and then I was done for.
Then you're done.
Same thing with baseball. Same thing with football. So thank God for video games, like I said, and the arts, because you can pretend.
Yeah. Have you got to play a sports figure on TV or a movie yet?
I haven't yet, actually, and that's a dream of mine, I think.
Yeah.
To tap into that. To
he'd get you in a wrestling movie.
Yeah.
I bet you if you were in a wrestling movie, I bet the training leading up to filming it would be pretty intense.
Yeah. Like what's that show? What's that show that Stephen Amell and Alex Ludwig?
Yeah, it was a good show. It was on Stars.
Heels, is it?
Heels. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that looked like it was the most fun.
Yeah, it did. It looked like a blast.
Yeah.
You needed to get on there.
Okay. Now that you said that, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe
maybe you could be a heel.
Yeah. We'll mark that down.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
I mean, that was the reason why I liked The Rock, because he was the only one that somewhat looked closest to me growing up, because I was a chubbier kid growing up. And, I mean, obviously,
he was kind of thick when he was.
No, yeah, exactly. I think that's why. Even though he was like black and Samoan, there was a lot of him that resonated in me and for a lot of my community and stuff like that, because there was never really any Asian wrestlers. It was more like, right, like it was Samoan, or even Yokozuna. I
was trying to think.
Wasn't even Japanese. Do you know that he's Samoan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't really think of any.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure you wouldn't be the first, but you could be one of the early ones, maybe.
Yeah,
because there's probably some that we're not thinking of. I'm sure, but if it's similar to Hollywood, probably underrepresented.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's gotten in Hollywood, it's starting to get a little bit better, but we got a ways to go yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're coming off of like unprecedented checkpoints though, and times, like coming off of 2 massive Oscar wins.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Did you watch the other night?
I did.
Yeah, the all 4 of the main winners That all of those were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had the three from the the Blockbuster movie, and
Yeah.
then you had Brendan Fraser, and that they were all fun to watch. And Short Round, he was so excited. You couldn't help but feel good for him.
Yes. I saw a lot of reports the next day saying that the Oscars was really boring and like woke and this and that, which might have been the case, but I think anybody who's trying to watch the Oscars for drama or for controversy, I think you're watching it for the wrong reasons anyway.
That's right. Well, I mean, last year, I mean, that's happened one time. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so you're missing the big picture, I think. And I was watching it, and I was really chill. I was in my apartment in the living room, and it was just such a beautiful story. Like, you can't write a better story than that.
No.
For both he and Brendan. Both just incredible comeback stories, and it was just so perfect, the fact that they had worked together and they were friends, and Harrison Ford was the one to give the Oscar.
I love that,
to the whole film and stuff like that. I mean, that's the kind of thing those are those moments where you're like, that's what makes our industry so special, because of the storytelling aspect or element of things, right? It's like, for things to come around full circle, like, this is truly, for all intents and purposes, a Hollywood moment,
Yeah.
So,
well, it's so strange because both of them are so talented.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder, where did they get derailed? You would think they would, they wouldn't have those down periods, and for whatever reason, they just kind of disappeared. For a long stretch, and now they're back.
Which, if you think about it, is actually, their careers, they both saw tremendous success, right?
Yeah.
And then they kind of fizzled off a bit, and then they've come back. I mean, they actually represent more of Hollywood than not. Like, the people that we see constantly, week in, week out, those are your rare 0.2%
That's
of
right.
the whole industry, right? Like, I read a crazy, alarming statistic the other day of like, the percentage of actual working actors in this industry out of all the actors, say in our union and stuff like that, is actually 1%.
Oh, wow.
1% of all
people.
actors are actually making a living and
like just with acting.
Yeah, working actors. So when
that's amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, when you put it into that perspective, it's like their journey, amazing, but it's also like, these are just real guys.
That's
like
right.
Everybody else. They're not that top cream of the crop that have gotten there and have stayed there and have just never left there. It's so many people just underneath that are constantly sort of like fighting for their lives just to stay afloat.
Talented people.
100%. I mean, I've met so many extremely talented people that just leave me just gobsmacked in terms of like watching them, that never crack it, never make it, and even for my age and my sort of age and contemporary group, like, a lot of the guys have sort of fallen off or like have quit in the last couple of years.
Well, it's just such a hard living, and then you had the whole 2020 thing, which especially in LA, it hit LA really hard.
It did.
I could see where that might have driven some people out that were just kind of barely surviving, and then you had everything kind of shut down.
Most definitely.
That was it's been a rough couple years.
Yeah. So I mean, and therefore good on you for having platforms like this to continue to keep sharing the love and geeking out over the things that bring you joy, and then spreading that out into the world, because we need shit like this.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And thank you for the kind words. It's absolutely part of the reason that, the majority of the reason that my son and I are doing this is because we like spending time together and we like talking about, the things that we like.
That's great.
That's great. One of the bonuses with it is it really has given us an opportunity to give, some underappreciated people a platform to come on and maybe get a little more exposure. And that's pretty great. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So let's talk a little bit about yours, because you've got a busy time right now going. You got a lot of stuff coming out.
There's some things coming out this year. Yeah.
We just watched you on The Good Doctor and loved it. Yeah. That was like it wasn't this week's episode, last week.
Last week's episode. Yeah.
Really good.
Thank you so much.
Really good. Yeah, that's one of those shows. My stepson has Asperger's. And so we started watching that when it first came out. He was still living at home. We watched that with him.
Yeah.
And he loved it because he could see somebody succeeding that has some of the difficulties that he has. So he loved it. He loved it. And then we just continued to watch. He's out and married and got his own family now, but we're still watching it.
Amazing.
Honestly, been pretty good.
The Good Doctor. Yeah, I watched the episode as well. And it was great to see on so many levels, but like mainly, so that show we just shot that back in, it was like first or second week of January, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a quick turnaround.
Very quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Which is rare, one. And then two, that show is so well oiled at this point.
Yeah.
That
isn't that neat when shows get to that point, they've been on the air long enough that they've got it down.
Yeah. Well, and then so it in theory makes it easier for you as the guest actor to coming in, because everything is sort of laid out for you in terms of like, how things move and this and that. But it doesn't make it any less intimidating. You know what I mean? It's like you're that new kid in school again, and you're trying to assimilate, and you're trying to see how your style and flavor blends in with sort of what's established.
Not always easy.
Not easy at all. But
how were the other actors? Is it a welcoming set?
Yeah, they were great. So I in our scenes, myself and the actress, wonderfully talented actress that played my wife, Elise Malloway, we worked with Fiona Gubelman and Bria Henderson. And Mike, when I tell you that, like, I was gobsmacked, man. Like, first of all, working opposite of them, there was maybe like 4 or 5 times it happened where watching them work, I kind of just got into a trance, and I thought I was back home in my living room watching TV. I was kind of like, I kind of had to wake up from it and realize, oh shit, I'm working. Like, oh my God, I have to say something. Because you're watching it and you're like, oh yeah, what's going to happen next?
That's right. But that's good acting if you can get into it when you're into it.
But they are so good. They are, no pun intended, but they are surgical with their shit.
That's awesome.
Like those tears that they're doing, take after take after take, the director will come up and he'll be like, hold your tears there, give it to me on this line. And then they're like, no problem. Not to mention, in between takes, we're talking, we're laughing, we're having jokes, and then action. They're like, oh. And I'm just like, oh.
Can you do that? Can you cry on demand?
Not like that.
No, I couldn't either. No way.
It takes me a little, like if I really get into it, I can do it, and I've done it. But to just, like I said, to go from da 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 da, oh, yep, and action, that's a whole other level of mastery that I haven't tapped into yet. But thankfully, us men don't cry. You know what I mean? Like us tough guys. But I
always tell my wife that we're allowed to cry at weddings, funerals, something involving one of our children, and some sporting events.
Yeah. And it's funny because whenever I watch compilations to get me into the mood, those are usually the things that I watch, like sports.
Sports will get
You
me
know,
every time.
you know what gets me every time? You know those videos of like, servicemen or women coming home, surprising their kids?
Oh, that's
Every
that's a
time.
good one. Every
But if I
time.
watch
I
that
agree.
and you call action after that, oh yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Every time.
It's like, hold on, I gotta watch a YouTube video. I'll be right
Yeah,
in a second.
um,
That's great.
but honestly, that set was, like I said, such an well-oiled machine. Everyone was so welcoming. And it was really cool to see, just like it felt like playing on a championship winning team,
Yeah.
in a way that, Good Doctor is one of the most watched shows in America, I think. And for everybody to know that, but really be like aware of it, but like appreciative of it, and they don't take it for granted, that
Yeah.
was really cool to see. Um, but that show is funny because the running joke in my family is that my uncle, shout outs to Uncle Ming, he's like, for all intents and purposes, like this really brolic, tough looking, blue collared guy, right? Like if you saw him
Yeah.
on the street, you wouldn't think twice about messing with him. Um, but he loves the Good Doctor. And every time we meet and we have lunch or dinner, he'd always kind of nudge me. He'd be like, "Hey, Kurt, why don't you ever do that show, The Good Doctor? Like, why don't you ever? How come you're not on that? Why don't you do it?" And I'm always like, I
Not
always
that
laugh at
easy.
myself because I'm like, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not from a lack of trying, man. Like, but thanks for the confidence. Um, and so like, and I've auditioned for that show many a times, but so to finally do it was really special because I finally got to call him up and be like, I'm on The Good Doctor next week. Check it out. And I actually had the whole family at my place, and we watched
That's awesome.
the episode together, which was really lovely. And then of course now he goes, why only one episode? Hey, why don't you become a series regular, man? Why don't you come on? They can bring you back. And
Well, they're talking now. Maybe they're going to spin off, that
yeah,
Good
the
Lawyer
Good
show.
Lawyer. Yeah.
Maybe they can bring you back, even if it's in a different role on that one.
Yeah, or we'll keep trying. So maybe we'll try to have another kid. My wife
There
gets
you
pregnant
go.
again or something, and yeah.
Yeah, sneak back on there. So
Yeah.
I want to
Oh,
talk to
yes.
you. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Now, I was just going to ask you, I want to talk to you about The Night Agent because that show sounds
Yes,
awesome.
sir. Yeah.
That's
So
coming. It's a Netflix show, right?
it's a new Netflix series, getting ready to hit your screens March 23rd.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a little screening premiere for it next week as well. Very excited
Are they
about
doing
that.
that there in LA or are they doing
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Is that the Chinese theater?
No, it's actually on their lot.
Oh, on their lot. Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for it, but
I have. It looks awesome.
pretty epic.
Yeah, it looks awesome. But yeah, tell me about what's the show about? What's your role in it? Because just the trailer that was enough for me. I was like, oh yeah, that's going on my list.
Yeah,
I can check that out.
It's epic, and from what I've seen of it, I've seen about like I think half the season, and it's great. It's
that's awesome.
They say that if you're fans of like 24, The Bodyguard, that was also a Netflix series.
That was a good series.
Homeland. Yeah, this is right up that alley. But ultimately, the show centers around this low-level FBI agent named Peter Sutherland, who gets demoted to this like really shitty job where he's manning this phone it's called Night Call, where he mans this phone that never rings essentially, and that phone is sort of tapped into this little kind of agency called the Night Agents, where they're super high level trained investigative agents under the FBI. And one night the phone does ring, and he picks up the call, and it sort of opens up this Pandora's box and leads into this whole crazy conspiracy that leads all the way up to the White House. I play Cisco Jenkins, who is one of Peter's closest confidants and friends. We go back to like, college days type of thing. We were both in Quantico together, and he calls me up for a bit of assistance, and together we get into some pretty mucky situations. And it's honestly,
I mean, that sounds like exactly the type of role as an actor you'd be looking for. I mean, it's a very juicy role.
Yeah. Not only was it a juicy role, it checked many boxes for me, because that was one of my first. I think that was my first job back that I had taken after my hiatus. I took about 1.5 years off during the pandemic, and I kind of just unplugged and just went back to just finding me and doing all of the things that I could geek out on and pick me up. And when I got the call for Night Agent, it was just, it was like, wow, perfect. All of my manifestations coming to life. Like, look at this, right? One of my biggest goals that year specifically, I was like, you know what? I really want to play a cop or an FBI agent or something in that realm. And funny enough, this role landed on my lap. At first it was for a guy named Cisco Jenkins, which I was like, I have no business playing, let alone reading for. But there was something about him that I felt like I really knew this character. And then when I got the role, I found out that, okay, not only, so he's a state trooper in Maryland, but he's got FBI training because he went to Quantico. So I kind of got best of both worlds.
Oh, very nice.
And the reason why this checks off a couple boxes, one, in terms of representation, yes, it's cool seeing Asians doing this and that, but how many Asian guys do you know get to play a role named Cisco Jenkins? You know what I mean?
You're the first that I know.
The first. Okay. Hopefully the last.
No. I mean, it sounds like an action hero to
me. Yeah. And I definitely got to live out that action hero sort of fantasy on a smaller scale, but it gave me a really great taste for it. And I'm like, okay, now I'm hooked. Now this is like, if I can only go upwards and onwards from this, like, yeah, let's go. But secondly, I got to do a little bit of sort of SWAT and gun training. So the showrunner of this series, Sean Ryan, and the creator, he was the genius behind shows like The Shield from back in the day.
I knew I recognized that name when you said it. Yeah.
Shield, and that the hit CBS series SWAT. So I got to work, one-on-one with the head consultant of SWAT. His name's Odie Gallup. Shout out to him.
Okay.
And that was a dream come true. Like literally putting in that kind of work and then going to the gun range and working on technique and stuff like that. That was, a childhood dream checked off for me, most definitely.
Yeah, so, well, it's pretty important because if you've never, held a gun or shot a weapon, you're not going to just know how to hold it, how to position your hands.
I've held a gun. I've held guns before, but there's a vast difference between knowing how to shoot and then being a trained like killer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
And certainly for me, I'm the kind of guy that when I'm watching a performance, I hate that I do this, but I judge people on, whether or not I believe that they can pull this off.
I think we all do that.
Yeah.
If it's not believable, it takes away from what you're watching.
Exactly. So it was interesting, man, because it also helped me get over my fear of cops. Usually, I don't know about you, but like in any situation, I'm not doing anything wrong at all. But as soon as I see a police officer, I immediately tense up and I'm like, or
I think that's pretty normal. Or right. Like if you're getting a speeding ticket or something, it's nerve wracking.
Anything, and the things that come out of my mouth in those moments, I tell you, are enough to like want to just put this man behind bars. You know what I mean? Like, and while I, for the 3 or 4 months we were shooting this, I got to I got to really kind of live in that sort of space as an officer. And so I'd actually go up to cops and like talk to them and ask them for advice and pretend I was like one of them. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's a
Yeah.
nice side benefit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it
Exactly.
is it a limited series or is it going to be like a recurring series?
Um, Only time will tell. We shall see. We shall see. It's certainly, honestly, as it is, it's like a perfect one season thing.
Yeah.
Perfect story. But then it also has all the it has all the capabilities of becoming like a hit recurring
Yeah, it looks to
series
me
for
like
sure.
they could just it could, you know, it could just be
And
a,
yeah,
a
honestly,
police show.
the the lead, the lead of the show, Gabriel Basso, he
Yeah.
he is so incredibly talented. You know, the guy is truly the real deal. Um, like I said, I play as one of his best friends on the show, so I got to work with him quite often, and like, um, it was really cool, sort of working under the leadership of someone that was so dedicated uh, to his craft and to the story and to bringing authenticity across the screen. Um,
Yeah.
so if I can totally see the show going on for multiple seasons just based off of this guy's grit and tenacity alone. So
That's terrific. Yeah,
yeah,
that's terrific. Well, and then so you've got an episode on Creep Show
yeah,
coming up, and
I'm excited about that one.
you got the lead in that one.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first. That was I shot that right after I finished up on The Night Agent, and yeah, it was my first lead on a, even though it was like an anthology series, but I worked on that with my co-star Christy Dunsmore, and working with wonderful, wonderful, wonderful director from the East Coast. Um, his name is John Esposito.
Yeah.
He was one of the producers of Dusk Till Dawn, which I'm a
Ooh.
huge fan of.
Yeah, me too.
And
Me
so it
too.
was really cool working with him. He's one of the executive producers of the show as well, next to Greg Nicotero, and and that was yeah, like a huge check off my list as far as experiences. I got to, like I said, kind of lead my ship to a certain degree for the first
Yeah.
time on that level, and I welcomed every challenge along the way for that. Every day on set for that was a complete blessing. I've never worked with a more, for all intents and purposes, that's a lower budget show,
Yeah.
but the passion that was on that show was insane. Like, everyone there was there because they loved being a part of that team, from
It's cool.
grips to hair and makeup to,
They just love what they're doing.
yeah. So it was a complete honor to be a part of that and to tell that story. It's all things hilarious and ridiculous. And I got to really, I think, flex my muscles in regards to, you know, working in that more like rom-com uh kind of space. That
Yes.
was really fun. Um, this might be too early to say, but I think we are releasing that later on this year, closer to like Halloween time,
Yeah.
which is fitting for our content, being that there's a lot of monsters and stuff like that, and gory, scary stuff happening. But yeah, so that the world will get to see that later on this year, which I'm very, very excited about. Like, that was a huge, huge accomplishment
Well,
for
it
me.
has to, even though it's just the one episode,
Yeah.
getting to kind of lead that episode, that has to help you going forward because now you've shown that you can do it. So,
Yeah, most
maybe
definitely.
next time it's a whole series that you're leading.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that was my first number one on a show. It won't be my last, but that's exactly the attitude that I took on it every day. I walked on set, like, not taking any of that for granted, but then putting my mouth where my money is. Like, I've worked with a lot of people there's been a lot of times where I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I was number one. I wouldn't do this if I was, and then so now being in that position, I got a small taste of what it takes, and it's like I said, it's no easy feat whatsoever.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's terrific. Well, and then the last one was Hudson and Rex,
Mm.
which that one's kind of neat too, because did I read that correctly? You got to do some of the choreography with that.
Yeah. Okay. So all three projects we're talking about are three uh brand new arenas that I've been walking into. Like I'm not new to martial arts or action on film by any means, but I would certainly never regard myself as like a martial arts guy,
Right.
right? You would never think of Curtis Lum when you're looking for stunts, right? Um, so I got offered that role, and in perfect sort of like actors uh timing, it was right off of the back of like me thinking, you know what, it might be that time again to take a small hiatus. It might be that time again to like take a pause on things. Like I'm not really sure how things are going. Let's just,
Seems
it
like
was
they're going pretty well.
appreciate that, thank you. It's a lot of makeup and a lot of a lot of self-motivation, man, I promise, and a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
No, but this was towards the end of last year, and so it was like November going into December, and so it was more like, you know what, maybe I've done enough this year. It might be time to kind of just close,
Take a break.
put an end to this chapter, enjoy our holidays, and then we'll reassess things in the new year. And like right as I had sort of inceptioned the idea of that, boom, this lands in my lap. Okay. And at first I'm kind of like, I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, yeah, seems interesting enough. I knew nothing about it. I've never auditioned for the show before. Um, yeah, and so my agent calls and he's like, yeah, do you want to go to um uh oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Do you want to go to
Where were
uh
you?
where was I? East Coast, Canada. The name, I want to say Halifax, but that's part of me. But East Coast of Canada, right? And this is the
Yeah.
dead of winter. I'm like, no, of course not. I don't want to go. Well, why? Why are you asking? He's like, well, this show wants you. And I was like, okay. So next thing you know, I'm on a plane. I'm going out there, and and then I start seeing revisions to the script, and all of a sudden my character is like doing some really badass martial arts stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And as soon as I touch down, I'm talking to the director. I'm like, hey, so yeah, this is love the revisions, man. They're awesome. So listen, do I have a stunt double out here? He's like, no. I thought, no, like, don't you love it? Like, we thought you were a stunt guy. And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah, we saw some of your action materials and this and that, some from your previous work. Like, yeah, this is gonna be great. Like, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So long story short, they in this particular town of St. John's, there we go,
There you
Newfoundland.
go, St.
Oh my
John's.
God. Thank you, brain. So in St. John's, they haven't done any kind of martial arts or action on film before,
Okay.
or TV before. So for all intents and purposes, this is all relatively new for that industry over there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when I asked about the stunt double, they're like, no, we thought you were the stunt guy. And no, we don't have a stunt double for you because there's no Asian guys out here in St. John's. So I was like, oh shit. Okay. So I got to work very closely hand in hand with the stunt coordinator in terms of building out all of the fight pieces and all of my stunts because I designed it to what my abilities were.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, rather than being this
Yeah.
high flying sort of like trick martial artist, I think I did a really good job in what we did in collaborating and working out a really realistic, authentic, gritty, more like John Wick style
I like that.
of sequences,
Yeah.
which I can't wait for the world to see, and yeah, so that checked off a lot of boxes as well. But mainly, I got to live out another childhood dream of mine of being an action, a martial arts action star. Um,
That's pretty great.
yeah, so because it was a relatively newer, um, like I said, in their industry over there in that culture, they don't shoot a lot of this type of stuff over there.
Right.
There were like a lot of people that were excited about that shoot. So like on that day, it was like everyone was just right by the cameras, like
They wanted to see the action.
see it, right? I'm talking people on the street as well, being like, "Oh, they're doing action." They're running over. So I had a full audience, and you know, yeah, shout outs to that whole team out there and the crew out there, and the people in St. John's are so lovely as well. But that was truly, truly, truly a magical experience. It was one of those things that just clicked perfectly.
Yeah.
At the right time as well. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
I mean, that's a lot of really good roles. Kind of boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Hopefully, there's more to come. I'm producing a lot of really exciting material as well this year. I'll be producing my first feature film, which I
Oh,
will
that's
also
exciting.
be in. And yeah, I can't wait to kind
Are
of.
you taking it? Are you going to take it like the film circuit route, or
Yeah,
the
the film
film
like.
festival route?
Mhm. Yeah. So I have a short film right now called The Stranger, that I did with this magnificent director named Andy Lau. That's in the festival circuit doing its thing. And then this feature film that I was talking about, we're aiming to shoot it just after this summer. And then it probably will get into the film festival circuits by early to mid next year.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exciting, and nerve wracking too, since that's kind of your baby.
100% nerve wracking. And it's in a great genre that I'm a big fan of now. It's an action dramedy zombie film
Ooh, that's
that
pretty
sort
exciting.
of centers around this hilarious Chinese family. Uh,
Yeah.
it's sort of like the vibe we're going for is like Shaun of the Dead meets Train to Busan. So it's like
Oh, I love that.
both parts funny and heartwarming, but also like horrific and um terrifying. So
Well, is the goal, if the short does really well, to make it like more of a feature length at some point?
that's a great question. I think it certainly serves well for as like a proof of concept for something bigger, but we just wanted to just shoot something beautiful. We had all
Yeah.
the right pieces in place and the gear to do so, and so we just wanted to just create some just beautiful art and share that with the world. And like I said, the director Andy, he did such a great job in doing exactly that. And it's a bit of a comeback story for him as well. He sort of left the industry 5 years ago, and he's been clawing to get back into it. So this is his first piece back in a long time, and so yeah, I hope that the world will receive this short, in a good way, and hopefully things will get rolling from there.
Oh, I'm sure they will. That's awesome. Good for you, Curtis. This has
Thank you.
been terrific. You're going to have to come back maybe after you get the stranger out there, and we can talk about how it's doing.
Anytime, man. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
this
do
has
it.
been terrific. A couple quick things before we go.
Yep.
I think we've got everything, but you're so busy. Is there anything else you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Is there?
That's a
uh,
lot.
I mean, this is just what I do. I love, if I'm not busy, I feel weird. So,
Yeah.
um, between,
Sounds like a type A type of personality.
The funny thing is I'm not, but I can be, maybe.
Yeah, I get it.
I can
Maybe
I can act
you're like a A minus or a B plus.
yeah, exactly. Or a C minus, which is kind of like the grades I got. No, between obviously actively acting and constantly auditioning and stuff like that, and then producing my own stuff, it keeps me pretty full on. I also have a clothing line that I work on
Oh, that's
with my
right. That's
partner,
right. I meant to ask you about that.
Richard Dormal. It's called Rare Spirit. You guys can check
Yeah, I
that out.
looked at that. It's
Yeah.
got some neat items in there. It's well
Thank you.
done.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And so that has we're tapped into a very cool, like, charitable aspect to sort of our philosophy and our brand, where every collection that we do, a big portion of the proceeds goes towards a specific cause or charity
Love it.
that we believe in, that we enjoy working with. I have a documentary that I'm currently working on as well, that I can't speak too much about yet, but there's a lot of passion and spirit behind that, and I think that's the ethos to a lot of the things that I enjoy working on my own side of things. And
Well, I love that you're doing stuff and trying to find ways to kind of give back or pay it forward. I think that's a neat way to kind of go about things.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other, for me, there's no question. We only get one crack at this thing called life, and I want to, I think it'd be kind of silly to not want to help as many people as you can, and then also to kind of just be the best person you can be. And for me, I don't really know how to do that other than just trying to just do it myself and for those around me, and
Love it.
and it's gotten me this far, and hopefully,
That's right.
it'll just keep going. So yeah, thank you.
I love that. Yeah, you're so welcome. So last thing before we go, where
Yes,
can
sir.
we find you on social media?
I'm only on Instagram, so you can look me up, Curtis Lum. My handle is Handsome Lum, HANSUMLUM. I did not give myself that Instagram handle, so don't you guys worry.
Sure.
It's smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors.
That's terrific. Where can we find the clothing line if we want to check it out?
So the Instagram handle for that is at The Rare Spirit. Our website is therarespirit.com. And on my own personal Instagram, you can see most of my current work in terms of my own produced or directed content. So there's 3 short films on there. Most recent one is called The First, which was a micro short film that I shot out in London, UK. There's Reverse on there, which was, if you're into action, Michael, you should definitely watch. It's
all right.
It's about a time traveling hitman.
Oh, okay, you got me.
Working for this nefarious organization that gets sent back in time, and it just so happens to be the exact time and place that he got his heart broken into tiny little pieces, which is what sort of was the impetus of him becoming a hitman in the first place.
Oh, I got to check that one out. That's awesome.
And then thirdly, our lovely award-winning short film, Grandma's 80th Surprise, which I did with my partner, Fola Akingbola. It's a lovely 10-minute little rom-com piece that played all over around the world, went viral because I think it just got a really lovely, powerful message to it. So does Reverse, actually, but this one, in a little bit of a different, lighter way. So yeah,
I love that you're working on your own stuff, because that's a nice supplement to the acting, the roles that you're getting, but you've also got your own projects out there too.
Yeah,
I think that's terrific. You're so busy though. I don't know how you even had time to do this interview.
No, man, it's all smoke and mirrors. I got nothing but time.
Well, Curtis, I hope you'll come back. This has been just terrific. It's so nice to meet you. I'm Big
Ditto.
fan of yours, and I can't wait to see all the great stuff you got coming out this year.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yes.
I'd be glad to be back anytime. We'll
Yeah,
make it happen.
well, when you're ready, you just holler and we'll get you back on.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, hold on 1 second. Hope you guys enjoyed that one, the talented Curtis Lum. Make sure you check him out in The Night Agent, coming out on the 23rd on Netflix. It's also in Hudson Rex, and keep an eye out for that Creep Show later in the year. Absolutely just a fantastic, talented actor and filmmaker. So definitely help support him. Give him your support. Thank you guys for tuning in again this week. If you'd like to support us, if you're watching, it's YouTube MeisterCon Pod. Really appreciate if you could subscribe. If you're listening, just wherever you're listening to your podcast from, just subscribe there. You can find all 400 or 550 episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. So you can check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.